And welcome everybody to the first step of a fresh season campaign for Harlequins men. It all starts here in France, in Castres, down in the south of France. About an hour and a half drive east of Toulouse against top 14 pedigree competition. Match one of a builder to the Premiership opener that is taking place against the champions Bath at the Stoop in just a matter of weeks. No better way than to knock off the ring rust and to sharpen the edges than against a side like Castres. 8 previous meetings between these two dating back to 2001. Quins are edging the head-to-head at the moment. In fact, they've won the last 4. The last victory, a Dombrandt-inspired late comeback at the Stoop, Quinn style, a hat-trick to the captain in a team featuring the likes of Andre Esterhazy, Louis Liner and Hugh Jones. But tonight, it is very much about the next generation. It's about the future stars in quarters. And with an average age for the starting 15 of just under 25, the starting 15 contains 8 academy products, 10 more lying in wait on the inflated bench, and they're coming up against a hugely experienced Castres. The likes of Jack Goodhue in the centres, the 18-cap All Black who's been to a World Cup, Antoine Tichy in the front row, 12th season at Castres, approaching 250 top 14 caps and captain by Mathieu Babillot, a 14-season Castres legend. Whilst for Harlequins, it is the first time in quarters, metaphorically, that is, because tonight they sport the new futuristic graffiti-inspired print shaped by bold urban lines and abstract movement. The pink that they'll be playing in habitually through the season, but Stu Townsend and Harry Williams, formerly Exeter Chiefs, now firmly in West London in Harlequin colours, and a return to quarters for Kieran Treadwell, his first time in a Quins jersey since Montpellier away in the 2016 Challenge Cup. Tom Laudet captains the side, and this, the first taste of pre-season action for Harlequins. A nice claim under pressure for Ludo Collade, who has been playing a lot of his rugby in Buck Super Rugby, captaining the University of Bath, which is the university that has given this club the gifts of Jack Kenningham. Kenningham, by the way, is amongst a big senior cohort who are down in France, and they've had a training session down there today, but they're not in action today. This is very much about the journey. This is about rewarding the youth and seeing some of the more inexperienced players in action against a tough Castres outfit. And it is the hosts on the ball first, but spilling in the soggy conditions, and Stu Townsend swings his left boot through. And while the chase is initially on from Hayden Hyde, play gets drawn back for an earlier infringement. Castres, for what it's worth, the average age of their starting 15 is over 28 years old. They have a bench of 20 players, and match day 35, but still no room for Will Collier. So for all you Quins fans tuning in to see a glimpse of a former favourite, unfortunately, the hard scrummaging prop is being rested this evening. Instead, it'll be Tichy, Durand and Hazard who knuckle up against Jordan L, Sam Riley and Harry Williams. And we won't get to see any of them do their bit because it's a free kick immediate, and Abraham Papali'i taps, goes, and Castres are full of running. Off goes the All Black Goodhue, but again, the hands of the French let them down just as they're surging into Quins 22. There's the captain, Tom Laudet, on the brink of becoming a Quins centurion, only a few games away. Townsend, under some pressure, hurriedly hoiks it to the safety of the stands. And Castres have another launch pad. A good few paces into the Quins half to get their attack going. Durand finds Marlavat, and off the top they go, and into the hands of Papali, formerly of Connor, now firmly of Castres via Brive. Good shoot, just slinking through a hole. It wasn't there until it was, and he links with Segure. Far too easy for the French midfield, and the hosts draw first blood within 3 minutes. Well, that was the simple 2-on-1 execution. No chance for Cassius Cleves. The damage done by the simple show and go of Jack Goodhue. And you would have to say an early defensive lapse in the back division as Louis Lebrun predictably adds the extras from right in front, and Castres lead Quins 7 points to 0. So Castres, early possession, early territory and early intent. Rewarded straight away. Jamie Benson, who scored 67 points in 17 appearances last season, sends Quins momentarily into the Castres half. It's cleared with interest, but here come Quins, up and under. To the wing. In fact, it's Chabouni at fullback. Over 2,000 minutes played by the Castres fullback last season, and now a sighting of Cleves. Is there a more thrilling sight than a fully fit Cassius Cleves? Brought down on entry into the Castres half, and now a big carry takes Quins a little deeper. Up she goes. And claimed once again by the Frenchman, Remy Baguet. Wins the ball, and the attempted quick tap is interfered by Harlequins, and well, feels like a soft additional 10 metres given there, to be honest. The initial infringement, knock on. Chabouni finds touch. And once again delivers Castres to the doorstep of the Quins 22. Claimed by Tyler Ardron. The Canadian back row, Goodhue, sent as a battering ram this time. Not using the guile, using the muscle. Loose ball to the try scorer, Segure. And swallowed up by the Quins defence. Quick ball for Castres to work with, plenty of numbers, but again, they spill forward. Into Quins' hands. Townsend swings the laces once more and skips out. Didn't have too much room between that bounce and the touchline, but a bit of respite for Quins. Harlequins very much looking at this match as almost a block of 4. Benetton coming next week to the Stoop, then into the Prem Cup, and all eyes on that Premiership opener against the champions Bath. Exciting young talent in here, 18 academy graduates. They've all been training their socks off for the last 5.5 weeks. And the presence of some of them create the knock-on. And it is clear in these early stages that Harlequins are set to employ an aerial assault on the back three of Castres. Tom Laudet, just looking for some clarification. He's captain for this half, and come the second, Jack Musk will take over the reins when he comes on at hooker, presumably in place of Sam Riley. First scrum was a quick free kick to Castres. We get a little more of a duel this time. First scrum of meaning for Harry Williams in Quinn's colours. Oh, that's a bullet out the back and really well held. Exceptionally well held, in fact. And here come Quinn's. Couple of phases. Lauday pumping the pistons, scrabbling on for extra meters. Now Townsend travels, looks to pick his man, but Collade sees it slip over his shoulder. There's some advantage for Quinn's to play with here as they move right. Pink jerseys flowing round the corner, little dink over the top from Bradley, well collected, and Quinn's bursting down the right hand side. Ball tumbles free, but a lovely sign of adventure and ingenuity from Quinn's there. A lot of variation to the attack, and all the while playing with the penalty in their back pocket. Benson finds a good touch, I think. The camera just wrapping round. And as you can see, that's an absolute peach, in fact. That is absolute maximisation of the penalty. Such a big difference it makes to go tight into the corner. And this is Quinn's best chance of the opening salvos. Up the front they go. Lucas Schmidt sent airborne, but not given the opportunity to go to ground. Still Quinn's muscle their way through before being dragged down 5 shy. Looks to be some advantage for the early hit on Schmid. Yeah, an early drive on the big number 8. Tom Lauday is partnered by a couple of young pups in the back row in Seb Driscoll and Lucas Schmid, though the latter is something of a big dog as far as young pups go. Physically very impressive, immensely powerful. And again the option at the front. This time the ball comes, the break from Riley, round the corner, introducing Hyde, but Castres snuff out the threat. Now the turn of the forwards. Townsend driving the tempo. Lauday there, still no meters coming. Williams, chief to former chief. The spin looks to be Riley. The tempo's great from Quinn's here, but how good's that D from Castres? Still they come. Oh, just lifted into the space for Cam Anderson to not break stride. It was wonderfully worked. Lightning quick ball, and Quinn's striking ruthlessly. The defence held masterfully by Jamie Benson, and that'll be as easy a try as Cam Anderson scored in any colours. Benson, if you ever do find yourself at the stoop a few hours before the game, you'll usually find Jamie Benson practicing his kick, and there's a Johnny Wilkinson work ethic to life with the tee for young Benson, and the 22-year-old reaps the rewards with a fine touchline conversion from wide out right. The architect of the try and the maximiser to make it a full 7. Well, Castres immediately on the offensive in the 22 from the kickoff. Well, the ball, the service, is electric for both parties at the moment. Dupleix, the one serving up for this combination. A big, powerful forwards like Durlin. Always gets piggybacked through by Van Verberge. This time it's Babillot, the captain, former French international. Lebrun looking for Goodhue. He's a nugget of an inside centre, isn't he? And now back to the second rows. Really tough defence from Quins. It's been a big developmental area for them, building upon the defensive improvements at the back end of last season, and now they swarm upon the loose ball. Big wipeout from the Castres pack, but no meters coming for the French despite the multi-phase. Still no way through for Castres. They offer a little more width. It's a wobbly long ball from Goodhue out to Baguette. Nothing coming. There looks to be some advantage for an infringement from Seb Driscoll. The open side, who is another who's been benefiting from the Buck Super Rugby system, but this time at Exeter. Graduated with a 2-1 in history this summer. The former Wales 20s player. Yet to make a senior competitive debut for Quins. And this, by the way, being considered a friendly, so not going on to the Caps ledger. Loose swipe, surely it went forward. And confirmation from the referee's whistle. First scrum, that's, well, completed scrum, looks very solid for Quins. Johnny Green and Kieran Treadwell providing the ballast behind the front three, and once again an incompleted scrum. Early engagement from Castres, and what you're seeing here as well, this style of refereeing, this is something that is being dripped down from World Rugby. They don't want loads of resets. They're just going to go to free kicks and penalties from now on. Wonderful claim by Benson, who continues to fight on. He is a tenacious player, the young 10. Els, part of that scrummaging triumvirate for Quins out there. Townsend gets a bit of stardust on a high box. Beautiful feet. Took a couple of Quins players to make the tackle. Schmid was one of them. And now defensive duties rebuild. Babillot, the captain, driven back by Treadwell. What an exciting acquisition, or reacquisition, he is for Quins the coming season. Dupleix dribbles one through, chases after it, and it's a brave slide and take on the knees. Benson again. There seem to be some advantage being played. It's a tricky one without the luxury of a ref mic, which we're so often used to. For the fourth scrum of the game. At the moment, the score reads 1 draw and a free kick each. Well, the scrum just crumbles upon itself, and the picture was painted, and the penalty is Castres. Big crowd have packed in today. They've actually been treated to a bit of a feast of rugby. They had either the Crabos or the Espoirs playing a match prior to this. And just to give you an indication of how rugby mad the south of France is, the population of Castres is just over 40,000. And this, the Stade Pierre Fabre, the capacity is 12,300. So you're looking at a good portion of the town all emptied into the stadium for the arrival of Quins, and they're being treated to some wonderful footwork from Dubré. The offload, the French coming in droves, and it's a beautiful read. Catch Cassius if you can. Chabouni pins his ears back, but Cleves has got dynamite in those legs, has to go to the toe, the ball slips free. Cleves is celebrating, it's a huge call to make. The officials will confirm, Laudet will give his 2 cents. And it is a judge that was taken over by Cash. That's not the replay we want, is it? That's not the money shot. But Quins will have the 5-metre scrum, and it will be their put-in. So Ludovic Kerr with the biggest call of the evening. Of the 20-minute mark, and Quins with another gilt-edged opportunity. Decent blindside to work with. Townsend shuffles round. Bryn Bradley is a problem to stop, but he needs a better ball than that. Just too much pressure on the pass as the Castres line blitzed up. The knock-on. Poor return. Such a promising position. Big number of the Quins players out there this evening, having benefited from time on loan. Many of you will have seen some of them in Premiership Cup action, but when that competition's not on, they're donning the colours of London Scottish, Richmond as well. So not too far down the A316, but honing their craft, learning a bit about the dark arts against some wily operators down in the Championship and National 1. But there's nothing wily or crafty about that. That's pure power and age and experience from Tichy, Durand and Hazard. Tichy, nigh on 250 top 14 appearances across so many seasons. Oh, lovely snaking run from Cam Anderson. Bit of space for him to weave through. Well, slow ball with the Castres now not rolling. Again, injected into a hole. Bradley sells the dummy, gets clattered, and the ball squirts free. Really trying conditions. It's a heavy looking pitch out there, but off goes Hayden Hyde. Played in the Commonwealth Games for England Sevens not so many years ago. That's interesting, but it's also well read. and that is a brilliant kick to find touch. Or has it? No, it's just marched Benson all the way back, unless it's just caught a blade of painted grass on the way through. And by the looks of things, it could even be a 50-22. Well, very late arrival from the Castres line out, which is reduced to 6, and it's a brilliant take at the tail. Quins look to sack it immediately, and they're lucky to get away with bringing that drive down, which was gathering ahead of steam. The big boys reorganise themselves, slip through the first low attempted shot tackle from Riley. Riley back in position, good cue. Taste to Quinn's shoulders. Oh, beautiful late pop into the path of Segure. The tackle coming in from outside to in. Quins, defence holding firm at the moment, battering back the Frenchman. Now there's a second layer, a little dribble through, it's beautifully weighted, but even better read by Cam Anderson. And Hulu is second to it. Loose ball as Quins fight to work their way out of this corner. And that ball hasn't been protected well enough, it's been turned over. Chance for Castres to strike, hands to the corner, and this time Hulu makes Quins pay. Architects of their own downfall. We couldn't see what happens at the back of that breakdown, but by the reactions of the Castres players and the gesturing of Ludovic Kerr, it would suggest that the ball was out. Well, yeah, that's the international sign of play on, boys. Castres swarmed the new 9 of Quins. Smart hands. And Hulu to finish smartly in the corner. Both kickers have their radar set to points. Louis Lebrun makes it 2 from 2, and Castres re-establish their 7-point lead. Straight out from Jamie Benson. An error from one half back, compounded by the other. Good testing ground for these young players. Been a big focus on relationships, connection, enjoying each other's company, strengthening those bonds amongst the group. It's obviously been a pre-season that has been disrupted, if that's the right word, or accented by the absence of the established first team players, those on international duty. Some of them, like Marcus Smith, away with the Lions, others in Argentina, with England recording very impressive series win. Freedom Murley, Dom is among them. some nice handling from Castres. Finished in the playoffs at the end of last season. They beat out La Rochelle for 6th position in the top 14. They're an impressive outfit, and they're beginning to punt right now on home soil. Maybe an offload that wasn't on, which draws Ludovic Kea's whistle because advantage was being played. Be a big focus on conditioning as well as getting into the rugby part of things for Quins. In fact, earlier in the pre-season, the players were told they were going paintballing in Surrey. They arrived at Box Hill only to be greeted by a fitness and running session. So there's no doubt they've been in the trenches. They're going to feel like that now as Castres are once again meters from their line. Marlavats, the tower at the front for Castres. Good initial wedge formed by Harlequins, and a bit of assistance arriving. It's good maul defence. It forces it into the hands of Goodhue and the backs. Goodhue just rides his way forward, and then a blue wave comes crashing onto the pink shores of Quins. Early replacements onto the field for Castres, but the service just as quick. Corato that was. Pick and go by the big bruising pack from the south of France. Now there's room, now there's width, end over end, looping to the edge. But the feet lost, and Bryn Bradley there to wrap his tentacles around the Castres winger. Quins defenders in pink, launching themselves at Frenchman in blue. Turnover opportunity momentarily before being blasted out of the way. Or has it been turned over? No. Another big carry in pairs. Quins must steel themselves. A test of their grit. But a penalty. And Quins back on their 5. Tap and go looks to be the order of the day. Aurélien Hazard, his hulking frame over the ball, well to the side. It's the front row trio who launched themselves like a trident, and I think Teddy Durand was nestled in between the two pillars of Tichy and Hazard. And it is a third try for Castres. Pure power from the Frenchman. Three from 3 for Le Brun, and it's Castres who are cooking. 21-7 they lead, just shy of 32 minutes on the clock. Pretty much roll on, roll off in terms of replacements as well for both of these teams. Well, the show in Matador was good, slightly sliced on the clearance, but still a healthy enough touch found. Cameron Doak is onto the field wearing 18, I believe. Head prop, loan signing just for the pre-season period. Former Ulster Academy, spent time with Chinner in the championship. This is Connor Slevin, who is the replacement 10 on the bench for Quins tonight. Smart hands, gets Quins out and exploring the 5-metre channel. Castres all offside at the back feet. And, well, they're warned, but really a bit beyond a warning when they're that far off. Townsend with a bomb, tight to the touchline, returned hard by Chabuni. Well, the try scorer, Durand, just blowing his way through the heart of the forward defence. Quins can't afford their intensity to drop, and it doesn't. With a good strong low hit from Collade. Bit of knock-on advantage as well to work with, so Quins' defence finally rewarded. No penalty surrendered, and a knock-on. It's a mix-up between Dubreuil and Van Verbeget. Collade's presence definitely a factor in that, so it's good play from the young outside centre. We'll take a break for some treatment for Jordan Owls. 16 appearances last season for the South African-born prop, which is the most he's accumulated since season 2020-21. Have a bit of competition for that jersey. The arrival of Boris Wenger, the new front row signing from Cordoba. So too Pedro Delgado on the other side of the scrum from Santiago del Estero. Two Argentinian Pumas who are going to be feeling pretty good about life. They've beaten the Lions and they've beaten the All Blacks in the last number of weeks. And along with Guido Petti and Rodrigo Iscaro, there's an additional region to Argentina called West London that is slowly being colonised. Iscaro, outstanding try scorer against the All Blacks recently. Guido Petti bringing some Argentinian beef to the pack too. But it's the Quins scrum who are being beefed at the moment by the French. Just a bit of a turning of the screw from the more experienced and weightier pack. Schmid unable to fish the ball out before the referee's arm went skyward in favour of the French. Durand spears one to the middle. Castres have a nudge on. They are really rocking and rolling. Quinn splintering, but infiltrated by Laudet. Down to the deck, Laudet's paws still upon it, and eventually it's crowbarred free for the French. Scooped up by Cleves, but there was advantage already being played. Infringement had come from Quinn's efforts to defend the driving maul. West Londoners feeling the pressure in their own 22 once more. The penalty count very much against them. Illustrative of the pressure that their hosts are applying on them. Maravat, the decoy, and dropped at the tail this time. An opportunity spurned by Castres. Quins, from a similar position, found themselves turned over, which led to the third French try, and a bit of afters. It really bubbles over. Well, we're not going to get to see the heated action. Dispersed and diffused. And a yellow card brandished to Aurélien Hazard, and that'll help the Quins' cause, no doubt. Castres reduced to 14 for the remainder of the half, and a good chunk of the opening 10 minutes of the second too. Benson chews off a massive chunk of the touchline. Takes Quins to their 10. Bit of respite at long last, and also a bit of attacking ball from which to launch. Not quite gathered cleanly by Treadwell, but just about kept within the grasp of the Quins. Back to the left they jag again. Castres creeping on the back foot. Doak burrows his way on. And Townsend goes to the skies, as he has done a few times. That's wonderful timing. Hayden Hyde swallowing the Castres receiver. Castres launched their own aerial assault. Side down the moment it was taken. Blue jerseys pouring through. It's messy for Townsend. He needs some help from his pack, and eventually they're sparked into life. Benson goes scrum half, just flips it to one of his forwards so that Quins can reorganise themselves, get Townsend back in at the base of that ruck. Once more, high it goes, and Castres reaching, stretching, knocking on. Bit of a high challenge from Bradley that was a jolter on the Castres player. No knock on being called, and Castres are away and looking for a late fourth. In transition, flashing it through the hands, cross field, Castres go. Claimed out on the edge, but the scramble's good from Quins. Game opening up in the dying embers of the first half. Goodhue always seems to find a half gap. Acceleration onto the ball. A tricky trickle into the 22, and once again it's Benson. Seemingly always in the right place, right time, extinguishing threats. Townsend says enough's enough and just dabs the ball out of bounds, and Quins trudge off, trailing Castres 21 points to 7. The experience, the power, the bulk of the French besting the Calais Quins at the moment in the first 40 minutes, but plenty of fights from the men in pink and a second half to come back into a game that is within their grasp. Half-time here at the Stade Pierre Fabre. Castres 21, Harlequins 7.
Changer parce qu'il est un peu jaune, Ah, t'as mieux là. Ouais. Ah ouais. Ah ouais. Ah, en plus t'as le picking quoi. T'as le picking, est-ce qu'il est le picking? Le chausseau, iris, focus assist. Ah non, tu l'avais pas. Après, c'est très bien ça. Quand ça tape, comme ça, quand ça te tombe, tu regardes déjà comme ça. Ouais, ça va très bien, ça marche très bien. Il y a 1000 personnes.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Stade Pierre Fabre down in the south of France, the home of Castres rugby, where I can guarantee the changes will have been run. Frank McMillan down there, bottom screen. Sean Kerr on for Quins in pink. And as I see the introductions as the game develops, that's like Nick David as well there, who's just wandered over closest to us. Jack Musk wearing 16. He'll take the captaincy from now on. And don't recognise him with the new coloured hairdo, but I think that is Connor Slevin, who's bouncing the ball up and down. He's either lost the bet or his mind in the summer holidays, but he gets us off underway. And Well, immediately Quins get the penalty for some crafty obstruction, which turns out isn't so crafty as far as Castres are concerned. And it is a penalty straight away. Kerr, no number on his back. So to McMillan there on the right. Castres have also brought on a number of changes. I can tell you that they haven't provided us with any numbers of any of their replacements. So it's going to be tricky, if not impossible, to tell you who their protagonists are. But Quins have some fresh energy on. They claim it high, pop off the base as well, and flying round the corner they come. Good energy. Jake Murray, the replacement scrum half, gets the tempo driving, and then more big boys pour round the corner. Els still on in the front row. Ball comes for another carry. Lorde sticks his head down, but no meters to be made. Better intensity, better spark from Quins than the beginning of the match. Lovely soft hands, releases the speed of Nick David. His first touch of the ball and a try, and Quins right back into the game. With just the start that Danny Wilson and the rest of the coaches would have wished for. Jake Murray dishing the ball up at lightning pace. Right, left, variety of runners, and this is the moment. It's the late switch from Slevin, calling it on from Murray. Slevin doesn't receive it, but look at those hands from Lorde under pressure. And Nick David doesn't miss them from there. Slevin, very classy player. Pings it just to the right of the upright, so it's just the 5 for Quins. But they double their try tally, and it is game on with just 2.5 minutes of the second half played. Good pressure on the chase from Castres and Christian Ambajiang. Bit more composure just emanating from Quins at that breakdown, and Murray finds a fine touch. Murray, who played university rugby at Exeter with Seb Driscoll, made his debut in the Premiership last year. He was actually on the bench for the showdown in that epic victory against Saracens at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but didn't see a second's action, so he had to wait for a week until he got off the pine and made his debut against Tigers at Welford Road. He had an outstanding game in another friendly against Connacht earlier in the season last year. With Lucas Friday injured, it's a big opportunity, but here come Castres with their big opportunity down the short side. Agricultural clear out there, diving on, and understandably, justifiably, a penalty awarded. And the over-exuberance of Castres penalised. And Slevin can clear the decks. Jack Musk takes it quickly and, well, called back. Musk was captain in that Connacht friendly earlier in the season, where, again, a Quins side with a very young profile put in a tenacious and classy display to record a really good victory. Oh my goodness! I think Sean Kerr has just been deleted by a granite shoulder in the midfield. He's worn it well, dusted himself down, but he's now running back to his try line because Quins have lost about 10 metres there. They drew the U's and the R's from the stadium here in the south of France. Quins under big pressure. And eventually, Castres getting the call. Here comes the shot, had him in his crosshairs straight away, and that is a big old bump. Ball squirts free, down the narrow side go Castres, and another bruising collision that comes out with Castres on top. They deploy, they're hulking forwards once more. Tyler Ardron, who scored 4 tries for Canada on his return from the international wilderness last week against the USA. Good dogged determination to disrupt though from Quins, and they just throw their bodies at the blue jerseys. Shirked off the first time, but back for more they come. Oh, that's an uncomfortable clear out on Zach Carr. And an extra 10 as well to Quins. The penalty count really only travelling in one direction in the first half. It was all against Quins, giving Castres those easy entries to the 22. But they're now getting the favour of the referee's whistle, and they're using it to work their way into the host half once more. Laudet has his pocket picked by a swiping left arm. Line out the call, and Quins get a second bite at the cherry. A lot of excitement around Zach Carr, another physical specimen. Hell of an athlete as we watch, well, another impressive athlete do a bit of bounce work. And during the replay, plays developed a little further up the field in the hands of Castres. And the U's and the roars and applause tell you that that was a kick right on the money. A 50-22. And momentum swung in favour of the French. Brought to ground safely, and that is a cohesive and tight drive that has been built by the boys in Les Bleus. Brilliant counter shove from Quins. Just that second propulsion, creating havoc and ultimately the turnover. That is a big feather in the defensive cap of Quins. It's an excellently formed wedge from Castres, and Quins found the power and also the seams to infiltrate and ultimately emerge with the ball. Another back row replacement on there's Alex Everett as well, who's a loanee from Cornish Pirates. And the back row dealing with a scrum in reverse here. Quinn scramble. No clear release from Castres. That's going to be a frustrating penalty for them because they were well on top. And it's an easy out for Quins and for the right boot of Slevin. Good contests, in fact, enough of a contest that it's deemed that the throw was too much in favour of Zach Carr. Not straight, and it'll be a scrum to the French. Mentioned before about the cohort of senior players who are out there who were training today. Caden Murley among them. Finn Baxter, Oscar Beard, James Chisholm, Chandler Cunningham South, Will and Jared Evans, Jack Kenningham, and Stefan Levy, some of the big names who are going to be making dents next week against Benetton, but it's Castres who are making inroads, unstoppable inroads, into the Quins 22 and ultimately to the line. A powerful solo burst. The power to muscle through the tackles and then the pace to finish the break. It was really advantage to be worked with, and he had no right. How was he held? That'll be the question on Quins fans' minds. Then he slipped through one, slipped through a second, and then exploded through the remaining defence, with Kerr and Hyde unable to cinch quick enough. So an untimely concession for Quins. Really a soft one. And does the good work of battling those 5 points back at the beginning of the half. Cam Anderson, the other try scorer for Quins, sells a dummy that is half bought and then stolen. More fresh big men on for the Frenchman. Oh, the line racing up, and just a glint of light needed for a dart round the fringe. Castres rejuvenated by that score, putting some air, putting some fizz on the passes, and some fast feet too. Stepping back in. Then a thunderous carry against the grain into the 22. Blue jerseys queuing up, chasms opening up. An offload smuggled so deftly that the cameraman lost it in flight. And Castres are in and underneath the uprights once more. There was too much space for a prop and a second row to defend. And it was a miracle offload after the cover tackle from Carr stopped what seemed inevitable. Lola Sue round the ankles. You just see the ball being lifted before he went to ground. 2 quick-fire tries and Castres in complete control now. The try scorer who got this latest burst going. Claims, sets up, and Castres clear. It's important to re-stress so the number of big names and big established players that are out there for Castres compared to this young profile for Harlequins. This is a pre-season journey. This is about minutes in the legs, experience on the clock. For a lot of young men that are interspersed with a few more seasoned campaigners, the likes of Treadwell and Lauday and Tyrone Green, who's on the bench as well. But there's players like Elliot Williams who are on the bench, who was captaining the under-18s academy last season, but he's a rare enough talent that he played England under-19s when he was just 17 years old earlier this year. So this very much a glimpse into the future, and for many of them, this will be the toughest examination of their skills that they've had in their young careers. Castres beginning to run with increased vigour. Big blow coming in though, dislodges the ball. The Castres are in reverse. Slevin arrives on the scene. But already some advantage was being played. Think maybe knocked on in the tackle. But yes, Quins looking to promote and champion the young players coming through, really make the most of the talent pathway at the club. And 18 academy products speaks volumes of that pathway out there tonight. More defensive duties to fulfill for Quins, and the pressure is of a quality that forces the handling error from Castres. Should say as well that for those of you marvelling at the new Quins away strip that is of course on sale, it's not the first outing, it's not the first time we're seeing it. It got its first go in the PWR Cup at the weekend, where the women's side were victorious 61-29 against Exeter and Cobham. So all the noise justifiably for the Women's Rugby World Cup, of which there's plenty of Quins demonstrating their talents to the world, but the women in the PWR action is also beginning to get into full flight. Quins with the penalty, Castres not rolling away, and Slevin in a hurry. Wants to move things along, and that should suit Quins. Banker ball at the front for Quins. The stop for the initial build, and then the shunt and grunt. Murray opts to go wide. No one there for the pop behind. Slevin drops bravely and mops up the mess. Murray thinks about going left, instead finds Everett to the right. Just a touch from the charge from Castres, and they carry the ball out themselves too. You can see the ambitions of Murray there, and Slevin too previously, looking to try and drag the game away from a slower set-piece orientated one, and you can completely understand why when you look at the physical dimensions of the pack before them. There's great dynamism amongst these Quins players who are out there, but there is some real ring craft amongst the Castres players. Stolen at the line out, fed to the midfield, and now woven back to the left, where there are some long levers and some big strides, but again, some tenacious tackling. Quins have stolen it. Musk ignored. Timely clear up, ball's out. Murray needs to have his wits about him. He taps and goes. This is the tempo that Quins feast upon. And a side entry, and the penalty stacking up for Castres now. You wonder, is there at least a conversation coming? Slevin bites off more than he can chew. Is the right idea. It was an effort just to keep the game pacey. He kicks the ball dead, and Castres get to suck in a bit of oxygen and ready themselves to form up for a scrum. Castres accelerate through their quartered counterparts. Ball kicked away, and we'll come back for the penalty. There's always going to be a big ask this evening for Quins' young front rows. Well, the more experienced starters, Jordan Ells and Harry Williams, but Jimmy Staples, 19 years old, former Quins 18s captain on the bench. Jamie Miller, 19 years old too. And from a penalty for Quins, the missed touch, the penalty from the scrum, all of a sudden, it's they who are defending a line out in their 22. Plenty of movement and subterfuge from the Castres jumpers. And now Quins need to try and halt this maul that wraps around the right-hand corner, but the ball smuggled free into the wider regions. Good grapple in the tackle. Slevin goes for a steal, gets blasted free. Round the corner from the blind spot, side down. Good, strong, hard hit. Castres just looking to grind Quins down. These sizable carriers of them. Some light hands, almost slot a runner through the hole. More huge men hurtle at humans from West London. Big D coming in, 3 Quins launching themselves at the runner. Here's the try scorer. Quins failed to stop earlier in the half. The crowd try and milk a penalty. Jake Murray gets a paw to it and regathers. Took the risk, got the reward. A penalty for Quins will be welcome respite, and it's an excellent defensive set with the key intervention coming from Murray. Well, as I said, this is the first instalment of the pre-season programme. The next coming on home soil, fresh new soil I should add as well. Huge amount of work has gone into renovating the pitch at the Stoop in the off season. If you've been on the social media, you'll have seen some impressive work, some pretty cool aerial shots in fact. And the training ground, that's gone under a makeover, so a lot of infrastructure updating going on at the club. But that first team pitch, you'll get to see it in all of its fresh glory next week as Benetton come to town, who boast, well, a large core of the Italian national side, and it will be another stiff test for Quins in pre-season before heading into the Prem Cup campaign. Plan to have a more senior feel to the matchday squad than was selected for this one out in France. Of course, you can get down to the Stoop, or you can catch it on the stream as well. Just a taste of some of the action that's being streamed this season by Quins. The Academy have already been in action, played 2-1-1, lost 1. They dismantled the Bristol Bears a couple of weeks ago before coming undone against very, very tough Bath under-18s. Bath under-18s have made the last 2 finals. All part of the streaming offering of Harlequins throughout the season. Quins find themselves embroiled in another energy-sapping defensive driving maul. Lifted, and well, the back three haven't seen much ball, have they? And when the opportunity comes, they fluff their lines, but there was some advantage, and this time Slevin will take his time and he will make absolutely sure. Ten metres out. Can Quins make this count? They go to the tail. They go accurately. They go round that left corner. The perfect setup from deep in field. Murray opts to go wide. This time the pass is fine in the hands. The timing is precise. It is impeccable. It is try-worthy. And Nick David is at the double in the south of France. Well, this was the setup they tried a few phases ago. David working hard off the right wing. Slevin just dishing it perfectly into the pacey stride of the winger. And having scored just once in 23 appearances last season, Nick David has a brace in pre-season in the opening match. Abrasive carry. There's a few gaps opening up in the midfield. Slevin looks up and says, let's roll the dice. Out the back door it goes. But then the cover comes racing across in blue. Quins enveloped again. But now beginning to chance their arm a little, and they're getting some reward. They're not going to outpower these French, but they might outpace them. Carr makes the burst, has the support on the inside. Now Quins are purring. Ball delayed, just a beat that gives Castres the opportunity to reorganise themselves. But pink jerseys continue to flood up the left channel. A burst through the first challenge, almost the second. Murray down the narrow side, gets clobbered. Oh, and the jackal comes in. Just managed to lock the arms through the legs of the Quins scrum half and trap the ball at the same time. And what a shame for Quins. Carr playing heads-up rugby to spot the space down the right-hand side. Then the support came. But unfortunately, so too the poachers for Castres. And Quins will have to wait for a fourth try. Castres, in typically abrasive fashion, carry hard off that narrow channel. That's an interesting ball that creates a bit of chaos. And maybe another steal on the floor. No, Quins emerge and they probe down the left-hand side once more. They've really gone into the tackles of the French full venom again. Castres flirting with the boundaries of on and offside at the back feet. They are big lumps, these Castres forwards. And Quins are having to work so hard to knock them away. Max Green is on. The last time he pulled a Quins jersey on was in France. Famously so in Bordeaux. No Quins fan will ever forget that European quarter-final. The back as medical cover for the season, and off and away the once Bath man goes, who's been playing third division rugby in France for the last season. Gets things sparking, but Quins have landed themselves in some hot water. No one's at home, and it's a race to the ball. Slevin working so hard, showing a turn of pace as well, and doing just enough to fend off the attentions of the chasing French until a penalty is ultimately conceded. There was very little the fly half could do, but he did enough to save what would have been a certain try. Crossfield, Castres go. Are Quins paying attention? The answer, I think, is just about yes. Castres go quickly. Oh, how about that for a step? Sean Kerr just using the touchline and his inside defenders to help him out in which was a sticky situation with feet like that to defend. Penalty to Castres. They're all about tap and go too. The game breaking up now. Set piece abandoned for the time being, but still that nugget of a 6. Finding a way to burst the initial tackle. Good low shot comes in to stop another hefty runner. Ball gets trapped among the limbs. Castres revert back to type, using their power, using their physical prowess, and asking Quins to go to the defensive well. Advantage coming. Castres chance it with some flighty handling, almost wriggling free. And we do come back for the penalty. As you can see, the clock has been reset to 0. I'm not sure that either side have another full 80 in them from this point. We're well into the last 10 minutes of this match. Probably with less than 5 to go. Harlequins will want to avert the 40-point threshold being broken. Castres will want to finish with a flourish in front of their home fans. They've got a penalty in their back pocket. Jack Musk seeking clarification. I think this may be the final play of the match. Again, the Castres scrum obliterate that of Quins, and it just affords enough room for the flight of foot lightest player on the field. 67 kilos of Colin Dupuis to slip through the net and round off a promising 80 minutes of pre-season rugby for the hosts. Just enough of a hold of the jersey of Zach Carr as well there by a slightly wiser back row foe. Left sufficient room for Dupuis to do the damage. The extras are added also. Castres end the night victorious, 42 points to 19 over Quins. However, a valiant display from Harlequins' next generation. 18 academy products in that squad this evening against a team boasting All Blacks, French and Canadian internationals and players with hundreds and hundreds of top 14 caps to their name, not to mention a kilo or 10 more. However, Quins' pre-season first foray ends in defeat in France. They go down to Castres 42 points to 19. But the challenges don't get any easier next week. Benetton are coming to the Stoop. However, there will be a far more senior feel to the team that Quins will be offering up as they come up against some of Italy's best. You can join us at the Stoop to see that game live, or indeed join us on the live stream. But from all of us here at Harlequins, we thank you for joining us. We look forward to your company for the remainder of the season. If we don't see you at the Stoop in person on Friday, we will catch you on the stream. Good evening.